We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on the Miami Dolphins offense, focusing on a specific play, the RPO, the seam rail slide RPO. If you've been on this channel, you know I've talked about this for a while, especially last season when I'm doing the offensive film breakdowns, but I never made like a specific video on it, only focusing on this play. It's so important to this team's success, especially offensively this past year. It was really ingenious by Mike Mcdaniel coming in, making this the mainstay of the offense. It really built around all the players, the super success that it has. The seam, rail, slide, the outside guy is running that seam, that quick. It's like the most targeted route for sure, just hitting down the seam. And then based on the coverage, he can, either adjust, run the glance route, run the slant, either just sit down as well. And then you have the rail route, which is like the wheel down the sideline. This is what Tyreek Hill's getting thrown right here. And then you have the underneath route, the slide coming from the opposite side of the formation, being down in the flat. So you have two vertical stretches with one horizontal stretch. And then it's the RPO game. And I think the reason it was so successful is it first was built around Tua's strengths. He's probably one of the best RPO quarterbacks in the NFL. He really does his best when he's just reading that one conflict defender. If the box is light, he can hand the ball off, but really just making those quick decisions based off where the one guy is, set his feet, get the ball out quickly with a nice quick release. He just sees the defense so well. It also really helps everyone else because Tua does a great job manipulating his body, getting the ball out quickly, but it makes life easier for the offensive line. They're just run blocking, making things look very easy. Doesn't have to pass block for a few seconds. The ball is just out quickly. Nothing too strenuous on the offensive line. And the receivers, it just plays to their strengths as well. Allows them to get up the field, push vertically very quickly. Waddle and Hill, so explosive off the line. They can really, the ball is supposed to be out really quickly, and they can get up the field instantly, get to their spot. And if the defense starts, playing those vertical stretches, they can get the ball out quickly into the flat for, just a nice, easy completion, nothing too crazy. And this whole offense was just built around this. They'd run it a lot early in the games, and then they would run it at the end of the games to, close things out. They would use it at the early to, figure out what defenses were trying to do, how to play it, because it involves a lot of motion. Would a person follow it? Would they bump down? And then Tua just makes that split-second decision. That's where his brain's working the fastest, processing the defenses in those RPOs. It was truly a special thing to watch, all the different little variations that were used in this offense. And the team really, succeeded doing this play over and over and over again. And it was truly fun to watch. We'll see if McDaniel makes some adjustments this next season. I'm sure they're not going to run this play as much because they ran it so much this past season. And versus different teams that had varying successes, one route was targeted way more in other games. Like, we'll get to the Bears game. I'll break down plays a little more, slowly get the, real juice of the play out. But, yeah, against the Bears, they were just hitting the flat very constantly, and they didn't do that a lot in other games just because that's how the team was playing it. It just gives you so many options for this team to be successful. And they also built this playbook, they would make this play, they'd use a motion, they'd have their similar sets, their formation, similar concept. They'd make it look like it's going to be an RPO, and then it would turn into a deep play action 7-step drop, giving, offensive line, the D-line would think it was going to be, the RPO, so they were not shooting upfield, made life easier on the O-line in those specific plays, and then it allowed the receivers, get downfield with extra time to create separation and gave to a clean pocket to work in. So the entire offense was just built around this one specific play. I expect Mike McDaniel to even do better work, but I love that he, came in with a specific play, to build the entire offense around specifically Tua, and it worked very successfully because, the offense had a lot more success than I think people suspected early on. They were one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL when Tua was playing. This is one of the first time the Dolphins offense ran it all season long, first week versus the Patriots. This is one of the most basic ways they ran it. This is probably its base version. No motion involved, just Tyreek Hill hitting quickly up the seam, but, slow plays it. Based on the coverage here, Tua is just reading 21-9 comes unblocked. He's the guy that Tua could pull and run it with. He's never really running, though. That option's, not really used at all. Maybe it was happened once throughout the season. But he's just reading 21 here. And once he sees that his leverage and flow starts to go out to this rail route from Smythe, and they have this working back underneath, he knows he's going to quickly get the ball out to Tyreek Hill. You can see how he's manipulating with his eyes right there to get this open. It just plays great to his strength because he's at his best in this RPO game, quickly, everything working. And you can just see how he moves his eyes tied with his feet and then manipulates defenders so quickly. It's what makes him special. And then, he has the accuracy in those intermediate short area. He's just a very accurate ball placement all there. It's just plays great to what Tua does very, very well. So many different ways the Dolphins can run this play. This time we get to see the motion. We have Waddle to this side tight. They do this a lot from like tight splits. They even have Alec Ingold lined up outside. You can do it in so many different personnels. Like Tyreek Hill is the guy working on the slide here. Smythe is your motion guy on the rail. You're barely gonna throw it to him, but when that motion comes, like look how it just affects the defense. Like Humphrey is looking like he's gonna press Waddle, but once the motion happens, he gets out of it, and it just puts this guy in a lot of conflict here. Like Tyreek Hill is getting a lot of notice. Usually they're not noticing, the slide guy, the flat guy. They're leaving that one alone last. But this guy sits on this because it's Tyreek Hill, and it creates all this space for Tua and Waddle to work with. It's just a natural space creator, and things just work out very, very quickly. Quick reads for Tua. He's really good when he just has to read that one conflict defender, specifically if it's going to be a linebacker, and it's just boom, boom, boom. Everything happens so fast. Defenses couldn't react. They knew this play was coming, especially as the later games come on, and you'll see how they try to play it differently, and it still didn't really work that successfully. Only I would say the Chargers played this play pretty good, like from start to finish in a game, and I don't think any other teams really had that sort of success from, the whole 60 minutes. Here we get to see Tua hitting the rail route to Sherfield. Look how they play this. They try to press the guy that usually is the main target as the seam. They go, pretty much man-to-man there. And then they have this linebacker really preparing his eyes on Tyreek Hill, working to the slide. He goes hard down into the flat, but then this corner is playing so far off that Tua sees this, and he's like, well, might as well throw the quick back shoulder, because usually with the rail route, they're expecting this to work deep. This is your deep option. Throw it over the shoulder of a guy. Usually sometimes they'll have a guy chasing. He'll be, in the hip pocket, but with him playing deep off, him and Tua just on the same page, throw the back shoulder, get another nice, easy completion for a first down. So many different options, way to attack this. It's very difficult for a defense to cover all three routes very quickly, and if they do, Tua can start just handing them off, throw the ball away very quickly. The biggest issue, honestly, on this play is they might get, a legal man or an ineligible man downfield if Tua holds onto the ball just, a split second too long. No motion involved here. Dolphins go to their RPO, because a lot of times when they did motion, I feel like teams were suspecting it, and the Lions play this actually pretty well. I'm honestly kind of showing this play just, to look at Tua, but just he sees, Hutchinson initially, crash down, so he's definitely not going to, hand this ball off. And then now reading these defenders here, he's kind of reading, this guy, because this flat defender gets out hard to the flat to, do a really good job of taking away this rail route, but also, not get too much depth. So if they do throw the flat, he can get down, probably tackle Gesicki before he really, gains too many yards. So Tua's main option here is just throw it to Waddle, and look at the anticipation. This play, sometimes, things get covered up, but with Tua's anticipation and quick release, he throws this perfect back shoulder right over, the outstretched hand of the defender. Waddle makes a quick adjustment. It just feels like the team was very comfortable running this play. They were always on the same page. Not too many miscommunications here. Just getting the ball out quickly to the seam route on the seam rail slide route RPO. And you can see just outstretched arms. So many different ways to attack this. Just a really high-level play there from Tua to make that one work, and good adjustment from Waddle. This was like the play they used to close out the game. This is the final drive here, and they're doing a little bit different look here. They have Tyreek Hill lining this side, having motioning him away, and then motion back, which gets him in basically man-to-man versus a defensive end. And Tua ends up throwing this quickly. He had multiple options to go with here. With just how he was playing this, he was reading this, this flat defender, but also through to the corner, and seeing that he was getting close tight enough to play Waddle. He knew he had this angle to throw this out quickly. The flat was taken away, so he throws the rail route over the top. It can just get you so many different matchups, especially with how, they use the motion here. He could have probably gone to this, seam route too, but he kind of gets rerouted here. He's almost like a pick as well, rubbing this defensive end, and then good throw hitting him on the back shoulder. So many different ways to attack the defenses, no matter what you're getting. Whether they're playing man, zone match, they use that motion to basically get him that one-on-one, and that he's gonna get that look. Tua sees him follow, go back and forth with Hill, so he knows he got that matchup, and he just knew that was where he's gonna go with the ball right away. In this Bears game, they went with different looks. Like usually you have the guy tight here, but they were going with Gesicki in line as your guy running the seam. So different look here, make everything look different. Bears, weren't too prepared for it. They get the motion out, they have everyone follow, and they're all just playing man-to-man deep down the field, and he just hits the slide route out of the backfield. And they used a RPO move. It wasn't just like strictly RPO. A lot of times out of this, Tua would just chase this out into the flat, giving him a nice easy throw to this. But they have, a linebacker man-to-man on Gesicki. A corner would follow Sherfield, who was motioning across on the real route, just playing over-the-top leverage. If he wanted to, he could throw maybe a back shoulder, but he would get this nice matchup out into the flat, dump it off there to, I believe, Cedric Wilson, and just make things look easy, nice pitch and catch. Just another way. When teams tried to make those adjustments, they were throwing a lot of, the rail and the seam, and they just make this adjustment, and it's still difficult to stop that quick flat route. They didn't really stop it all game when they did run it. Another similar example of what they did last time. Here we got Cedric Wilson becoming the rail guy, but things are slightly different here. They don't get the man-to-man look. They try to adjust. Like, look, Gesicki's still in line, so they're still going with this. He takes, that wider angle. Since he's not, tight, he doesn't just go strictly down the seam. He takes a wider angle arc release to get down the seam. They go zone. He's trying to, match up here. Everything is gaining depth. This was the effect that the offense started having because they started pushing vertical a lot. Teams started making an adjustment, dropping their guys super deep. So now when they were going to this RPO, he could just quickly go into the flat. It was just an adjustment that teams were trying to make. But you take those easy pitches and catches throughout the game, especially, and then the teams will have to adjust back to that quick decision by Tua. Also, slightly different wrinkle is usually the guy is, lined up right here, as like an off ball, but he just throws it off. He's lined up as like a running back, get him the ball quickly. Really nice adjustments there from the Dolphins offense. Here we get to see the run out of it. They're just making it look like it's going to be the RPO. They're really, none of the receivers end up running the routes. They're just going straight to block anyways. But just because they get that light box, they knew they were going to hand this ball off the entire time. No reason not to. They just showed that exact look. Be out of it, and then you can see they never set it up to actually be a run pass option, just based on the routes. Look at angled, he ends up crashing down. He was supposed to be the slide guy, but he just takes out Garrett underneath. But they get this light box look and show the exact same structure of what the RPO usually is with the motion, how everyone's set up. They go to these similar spots, but then they just end up blocking, and it creates all that space for them to run up the middle. So just another area where that play brings success to the Dolphins offense. Just look how this motion just slightly affects the defense. This guy gets just a little bit too wide, which gives that quick seam to Sherfield, and then he ends up making some plays there. But that's all it's going to take, just a little bit of leverage, a little bit of space, and Tua is going to make that quick decision. They're using the motion angled in the backfield next to Tua. He's going to be the slide guy instead of him being closer. There's just the different variations. And just getting him wide enough. He gets multiple options here because 44 does have the outside leverage, but he's going back in towards 14. He probably could throw a quick, back shoulder here, but he has over-the-top leverage. So he wants to take this in stride. So really good read from Tua, getting the ball out. Sherfield makes the play after the catch. If the defense messes up slightly out of motion, they get slightly out of position, someone is going to be open. Even if they honestly play it perfectly, there's usually guys that are, going to be open, maybe down in the flat, get that slide right out, usually pick up a nice 5 yards, and you're going to take that as an offense. Here's another slightly different variation of the RPO. The motion across, they're motioning him around, getting that deep orbit motion. And then look how, the Texans play it. They try to adjust. They have, 25 right here lined up on Craycraft, but once they see the motion, he bumps out, plays this, knows the real route's going to come. He takes that away, and they try to get the linebacker over to, press this to take away this route right here, get hands-on. And then, but Tua sees that it's a linebacker on a receiver, sees that, Craycraft avoids the hands, gets a nice clean release. Really good play by Craycraft, honestly. And then get the ball out nice to his quickly, great space, great anticipation throw as well. Texans tried to adjust to this. I think they had, they wanted their defensive end to, recognize, not crash down. And then once he sees this guy coming across, I think they wanted him to get hands on and almost cover him. So as they're going to go linebacker on the seam, this guy over the top here. Get hands on, readjust, and then hopefully, get hands on that guy on the slide route. I think that's how they wanted to play it, but either way, they had multiple open options, and Tua and Craycraft just being on the same page, not even an easy throw. It's just that's where Tua's at his best, where he is just seeing things and knows where to go with the ball based on what he's seeing pre-snap to post-snap adjustments. Okay, here we go against the Niners. They play this actually a little bit differently. They motion, or first they're doing Tyreek Hill across and then back away. And then they try to play this, they get too much attention on Tyreek. Two guys follow him. It's the first play of the game. The big Trent Sherfield touchdown. He outruns everyone. just wanted to show this, just, show the explosive potential this play can have, because this is one of the best defenses in the NFL. First plays of the game, they're have their plays prepared for this. They're going with the two-man backfield with the slide, and then he goes out. He tries, look how they play this. He's zone turning. He's trying to get over the top. Just gives that quick seam open. No linebacker's going to be able to get to this. This linebacker's kind of taking away the flat route, but it just creates all that space for Sherfield. And you'll see them try to make an adjustment later this game. Obviously, their defense definitely played better, but when they still went to this RPO, they still had some success running in this. Look at Jalen Waddle flying down the field, but just another shows off the big play explosive potential, especially if a defense just gets really out of position. They cover, two guys cover one guy instead of the other. So really nice play there from this Dolphins offense. Last play that I'm going to break down. We get to see how the Niners play this. They actually have a guy chase Hill across, do this a little bit differently. And once he sees him chasing, so they're going man to man, he recognizes this, that number one is following. Different look here slightly. He sees the press look on Waddle, so he knows he's probably not going to go to the seam here. But once he knows one is so far to the inside, he just throws the quick back shoulder on Tyreek Hill. Them being on the same page, they make that adjustment. Just so many different ways this offense can attack you. If you're in zone, man, all the different coverages, every single type of zone coverage, there's usually an opening, a way to attack it if the offense can all just be on the same page. Now, can they make adjustments to this next season, giving slightly different variations, more ways to build out of it? I'm sure there will become a different bread and butter play of the offense next season. I wouldn't be surprised. So let's see, the different success that this offense can have. I think, they could be even better if they stay healthy. Would like to see them use even 3 receivers out of this. Have that flat guy maybe be like Easy. I just made a video on him as Ukanma. I feel like he would be, because they would throw this flat route. It only really worked the flat route versus the Bears game, and they were throwing it usually to receivers. But this route could have had, I feel like, even more success if they get a more athletic tight end or a guy that's better with the ball in his hands, because they throw it to Gesicki, Smythe, Alec Ingold a lot of times out on the flat. And they're not the best guys with the ball in their hands, and they would get a few yards, but it'd be nice to have even a bigger playmaker down in the flat on that concept and see what that could turn into. Picking up even extra yards. Then they would have to respect that even more, which would open up more things for Hill and Waddle. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.